Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's up, YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you want more sports content. Like the video if you like the video, and I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. Everybody's throwing a fit because Joe Judge has the players and the coaches, which is kind of funny. When I read that the coaches were running laps with the players, I thought it was hilarious, but it makes sense. And I'll tell you why. Joe Judge is approaching this using a mix of what he's learned with Belichick, Saban, and a mix of what he's learned getting his PhD, which he's almost done with. Who knows when he'll finish that, to write a dissertation while you're a head coach. But pretty much, if you're writing your dissertation, you've gotten a lot of knowledge in education. So he's doing that in education, and he's trying out new things. And I'm excited about it. I think that holding these coaches accountable is going to pay dividends for the culture and chemistry of this team. What Joe Judge is doing is called operant conditioning, which is adding or taking away something in order to influence someone's behavior. So it seems like this is already working, because in Sterling Shepard's interview, he said, well, if I don't want to run, then how about I just don't make mistakes? And I think that should be the idea for everyone. He wants to establish that with everyone. Now, obviously, we have older coaches, so I don't know exactly how he's implementing this, what kind of mistakes they're running for, if it's because their shoes are too many inches off the ground, or who knows. But if it's fair and it's consistent, I like it. This is going to be an example of self-leadership for the players, which once they've been conditioning isn't always bad. It's not always good. It just depends what it is. But once they've been conditioned to associate making a mistake with something bad, then they're going to be able to police themselves and say, I need to make sure that I know what I'm doing. I need to make sure that I study, so I don't end up in a situation where I'm running, I'm making my coaches have to run, because these players respect their assistant coaches. You know, guys like the head coaches might lose their locker room, but these players love their assistant coaches. So they don't want to make a mistake and have to make their coaches run. So it's accountability up and down, because if the players are making mistakes, coaches need to do a better job teaching, and the players need to do a better job of paying attention, and the players need to do a better job of executing. So I like it up and down so far. When you're implementing a culture and you want your values to be uniform. You want all of your coaches to agree to these values, which I doubt Joe Judge just ran up to Jason Garrett and just told him, listen, you're running laps. This is something that the coaches probably discussed months ago, before they even knew that this whole thing would get pushed back and there would be no preseason. This is something coaches probably discussed months ago. They probably spoke to the players in the Zoom call. They probably had to do something like push-ups or something over Zoom. Who knows? But this isn't something that he's just springing on the coaches. And it's sports. I don't understand why Shannon Sharpe thinks that making someone run is going to make them lose the locker room. I mean, it's sports. But when you're implementing a culture, and accountability is one of your biggest values that you want to implement, then it needs to be uniform. You need to be held accountable for your actions. Your coaches need to be held accountable for their actions. And so do the players. Because if the players are being held accountable, but the coaches are doing a horrible job, and you can see that, and you don't do anything about it, that's not going to create a culture of accountability. It's going to create a culture of players thinking, maybe I can't do things, I can't make mistakes, but my coaches can do whatever they want. And my coaches can do whatever they want, and they won't be punished for it. But the way Joe Judge, the way he goes about his business, I'm very sure that if Joe Judge makes a mistake, he's out there running along with them. He's running those laps with them. And I think that's a beautiful culture, because it creates accountability. No one, of course, there's a hierarchy in the way to where if a coach says something, if a coach, is teaching something, at that point, the player is listening. The player is listening to the coach. But it creates a hierarchy in the way no one's above being disciplined. No one's above making a mistake. One of the best ways to implement accountability in an organization is through the leadership. Through leadership holding themselves accountable. And if that's uniformly implemented, then it'll trickle down to everyone. And that's all a football team is an organization. And I think that John Mara, I think he's done a pretty good job of holding himself accountable, besides that Eli situation, but it also starts with him. And if that can be a uniform thing, then this will work and these players will get better because they'll make less mistakes because they'll learn from it every time. So this is how you build a culture. You start from leadership, you set an example, and it trickles down to players. Sterling Shepard will be a leader in the locker room. And if they see Sterling Shepard saying, you don't make mistakes, you don't run laps. If they see Jason Garrett, you don't make mistakes, you don't run laps. Patrick Graham, you don't make mistakes, you don't run laps. Then I bet you they'll make a lot fewer mistakes. So that's my take, using a little bit of a psychology background. And I think it's a great thing as long as Joe Judge is holding himself accountable. Because if you're not holding yourself accountable, it makes it look like you're pointing the finger at these coaches or at these players and you're not taking responsibility for your own actions. But like I said, I am 99% sure that Joe Judge is also running with those guys. So that's Diggy546. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm out.